you're in Blackpool for today?
Well, overall, we're spending £2.1 billion on more than 100 projects across this country in order to level up, to make sure that overlooked and undervalued communities get the investment they need in order to improve productivity, bring new jobs. And here in Blackpool, we're spending £40 million in order to create a new university, which will help people in this community get high-paying jobs in the future.
Michael, the front page of the Times today reports a lot of the levelling up money is going to the south and southeast. I thought levelling up was all about the northeast and northwest, which have traditionally fared much worse than London and the southeast.
That's true, and actually, if you look at it per capita, the Levelling Up Fund has spent twice as much money in the northwest as it has in the southeast. But there are some communities in the southeast that are deprived and need support. Places like the Kent Coast, Margate, Ramsgate, Sheerness, Folkestone, they're the sorts of places that we do need to support as well. But the majority of cash is going to places like Blackpool, Morecambe, Workington, Copeland, Accrington, Cleethorpes, not places in the southeast and not places that people would think of as particularly privileged.
Were they all Tory marginals you just listed there, Michael Gove?
No, we're also spending money in Wigan. We're spending £20 million in order to invest in Hay Hall, which is a big cultural asset in Wigan. The MP there is Lisa Nandy, my opposite number. So again, the overwhelming majority of money is of course being spent outside London and the southeast. And again, I think it's the case that the majority of cash is going to areas with Labour councils.
It's interesting, though. I mean, we're just looking at the Telegraph's analysis of all of this, and they're quoting Red Wall constituencies like Yorkshire and Humber. They say that the levelling up investment there dropped from 11% to 5.8%, and it leads to some speculation that this government's kind of giving up, perhaps, on the Red Wall, and perhaps choosing to focus on those marginals or those areas where there might be Blue Wall damage at the next election.
Absolutely not. The way in which the money is allocated is against objective criteria. So we set out our determination to make sure that people in those overlooked communities get support. Then the allocation is scrutinised by experts in government departments in order to make sure that it's rigorous. But as I say, you know, the biggest investment of all is in Morecambe, and across Lancashire we're seeing investment, including in communities like Blackburn and Accrington that I mentioned, and that is a deliberate way in which this government is doing more to support these communities. But as well as this investment today, there are other things that we've been doing. So first of all, Arts Council investment. We said every new pound spent there is spent outside London. Research and development money for the science jobs of the future. We've said we're going to tilt that away from Oxford, Cambridge and London towards the North and the Midlands. And then more recently we've also said new mayors in York and North Yorkshire, in the North East, new powers for people in the North, as well as investment in transport.
There's a big blow for the levelling up, Michael, with the demise of that British battery project in Blythe. A lot of public money involved there. We need, don't we, 10 of these battery factories by 2040. We've now just got one.
Well, the key thing is that the site itself is a very, very good site. Blythe in Northumberland is an excellent location for a gigafactory. The company concerned wasn't able to secure money from the private sector. Companies that can secure money from the private sector we will back and we will support. But obviously, we need to make sure that bids for cash are competitive and that companies are competitive. But the site itself is a brilliant site, and I know that there will be other companies that will be looking to invest there in the future.
Yeah, but as Andrew's saying there, the loss of this, the collapse of British Volt, supposed to create 8,000 jobs. Not great for a country that's struggling with growth. There's a lot of pressure on the Chancellor to try and solve that problem, not least the front of the Mail, Andrew's paper this morning, quoting a number of your own colleagues saying you're going to have to cut taxes in the budget in March or we're going to lose the next election.
Well, the Mail is, you're quite right, a great paper with great writers. On this occasion, though, I can't anticipate what is going to happen in the budget. The Chancellor would have my guts for garters if I tried to tell him what to do there. We have had tax cuts in the past designed to help business. Rishi, when he was Chancellor, introduced the super deduction, which is a way of making sure that companies can spend more on productive plant and capital, like the sort of gizmos behind me, in order to generate growth. And I know that Jeremy is focused on generating more economic growth, but actually the best tax cut of all, for all of us, is bringing inflation down, because inflation actually takes so much out of our wage packets when it is allowed to increase.
One of our most brilliant entrepreneurs, Michael, Sir James Dyson, writing in the Telegraph today, accuses the government of stupid, his words not mine, short-sighted policies on investment and regulation and taxation, which he says are holding back the economy. That's a pretty terrible indictment on a Tory government, coming from somebody who's created so many jobs in this country.
Well, I love Sir James, and one of the key things about Sir James is that he's incredibly ambitious, sets high standards. What I want to do is to bring Sir James up here to the northwest to see what it is that we're doing, how we're backing industry, and also to see how some of the tax cuts that I've mentioned that are helping business to invest are operating, and also talk to him about better regulation, because the Cabinet on Tuesday was looking at how we can do more in order to get the big investments that we need from the private sector by having smarter regulation now that we're outside the EU. I know that Sir James always has brilliant ideas in this space. We're doing a lot, and I just want to make sure that Sir James has the chance to see that. And my invitation to Sir James, of whom I am a huge fan, is please come with me to the northwest, and we can look at what more we can do together.
Just lastly, I want to ask you about February the 6th. Health leaders incredibly concerned about this joint day of action from ambulance workers, call handlers and now nurses as well. It seems as though it's going to cost lives. Patients are going to pay a heavy price for perhaps what some people would see as the intransigence of the government on this.
Well, again, I hope that we can avoid industrial action. The key thing when it comes to the public sector and the pay negotiations that are going on at the moment is that we do want to make sure that people in caring professions get the wages, the salaries that they deserve. But we've also got to look at public spending overall, because we need to make sure that there is an investment, for example, in the NHS and the high-quality equipment that we need in order to keep people safe and well. And we need overall to look at the pressure of pay increases on inflation, because as we were just discussing, what we need to do is to keep inflation down, get it down, in order to ensure that everyone across the economy benefits.
Tiny question, Michael Gove. Your former advisor, Dominic Cummings, said levelling up was a stupid slogan. We read yesterday in the Times that it's going to be called gauging up. Is that so? What is gauging up, then?
I've no idea what gauging up is. We're committed to levelling up.
Right.
And I think that you and I understand that, Andrew, and what we know, as you pointed out in your very first question, that it's about helping those communities that have been overlooked in the past, particularly the last Labour government. It didn't really invest in areas like Blackpool and Morecambe and Accrington. It was more concerned with Cool Britannia and North London, not the North West. People in communities like Blackpool understand that we're totally committed to levelling up. And again, my former advisor Dominic Cummings comes from the North East. He comes from County Durham. Well, one of the things that we're doing for levelling up is we're creating a new investment in an area from Barnard Castle to Berwick in order to make sure that there is more cash, including improved transport links, not least around Barnard Castle.